And welcome to our June Augusta, Georgia Land Bank Authority meeting. We do have a quorum, and so I'm going to go ahead and get started. There may be others who will be joining us as we start. John Manton, who is our attorney, is with us, but unlike normal, where we see his happy face, he's not going to be seen today, but he is still with us and certainly will do his portion once we get there. As is our norm, I'm going to go through, we're going to go and introduce ourselves for the purpose of those who may be watching us on YouTube or Facebook, and just want to make sure that they know who we are, and that if there's anybody who's here who's not normally here, we get a chance to find out who they are. So if you'll just tell us who you are and who you're with, I certainly appreciate it. I'll call your name as we to make sure that we would do it in an orderly fashion. I'm Chris Johnson. I am the Chief Deputy Tax Commissioner for Richmond County, as well as the Chairman of the Board of Directors for the Augusta, Georgia Land Bank Authority. Lisa?
I'm Lisa Williams, Coordinator for the Augusta, Georgia Land Bank Authority.
Sean?
Sean Edwards, Executive Director, Land Bank Authority.
Hawthorne?
Hawthorne Edward Walter Jr., Director, Housing and Community Development.
And thank you, Hawthorne, for allowing me to go on local live yesterday. I appreciate that. Scott?
Scott Roundtree, Chief Appraiser at the Tax Assessor's Office.
Lauren?
Lauren Dallas, Executive Director of Augusta Tomorrow, board member.
Ashley?
Brown, Executive Director of Turn Back the Block.
Hey, I'm Wheeler. I'm the President of Turn Back the Block.
Zena?
Good afternoon. Zena McLean, Senior Staff Attorney, Augusta Law Department.
Chuck?
Charles Williams, Richmond County Tax Commissioner's Office.
Melvin?
Melvin Tyler, Demolitions and Vacant Lot Program Manager.
Karen?
Karen Gordon, Garden City Jazz Director and Board Member, Land Bank Authority.
John?
John Manton, Attorney for the Land Bank Authority.
And you'll see IT, that is Jeff, who is our IT representative, and who assists us with this meeting, this virtual meeting. And I think I see Donna and Carla and Rob. Their audio is connecting. And Odie?
How you doing, sir?
Which ones are for June? Is it the ones at the bottom of the list, starting at number 53?
Would that be sale date and column sale date?
And I got somebody to mute.
See that?
Okay, all right. Good afternoon, everybody. So we'll go ahead and get started. Item 2A is the meeting minutes, the approval of the meeting minutes. Lisa sent those out. If you have not had an opportunity to take a look at the meeting minutes from May 19th, please take a moment or two and do so. And then I will accept a motion from the floor to approve those.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion has been made by Administrator Donald and seconded by Karen Gordon. All in favor? Scott?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Odie?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
And a yes from me, and that motion carries. Item 2B, approve request from Turn Back the Block on revitalization of Harrisburg, house by house, block by block. That's going to be represented by Ashley Brown and Garen Muller. But before you guys come on, Sean, is there anything that you want to do in the way of introduction of these ladies and gentlemen?
Yes, sir. Thank you. So Ashley Brown is now joining us, no longer as a recent hire of the Turn Back the Block organization in the executive director position, but I believe this is her first time addressing our board. So we want to definitely welcome her as well as Garen, her chair of her board. I see someone else in the room that I didn't get to get introduced to during introductions. I apologize about not having your name. But so Turn Back the Block is now in phase 3 of its acquisition plan with us to revitalize Harrisburg one house at a time. As you are all well aware, they've been a great partner in the community, helping to turn Harrisburg around and increase the amount of home ownership opportunities there while still supporting residents that live in rental properties. I won't steal anything from the presentation, but again, we welcome them and thank them for being here to not only give us an update on progress, but also to let us know where we stand now moving into phase 3.
Okay. Ashley and Garen.
All right. Thank you so much for having us today. Sean, you have not gotten to meet, and I will introduce. This is Lucy Stallworth. Lucy is interning with us at Turn Back the Block. So she is joining Garen and I today as we share a little bit about what Turn Back the Block is, and where we're moving forward. Okay, so
let's see if we can share our screen with you here. If we can, that would be great. Here we go. Can everyone see our screen?
It's coming up.
Okay.
Well, I'll just start by telling you as it pops up about our newest homeowner, and there she is, LaDonna Dolman. LaDonna became a homeowner in July of last year, she and her 2 boys. It was a dream of LaDonna's to own her own home. She is the first in her family to do so, to own her own home. It was also a dream of LaDonna's to own a home in Harrisburg. She rented in Harrisburg early on in life and her family still has great ties there in the Harrisburg community. She's a member of St. Luke. They're active members of the Kroc Center and Augusta Locally Grown. LaDonna is actually the manager at the Master Table Soup Kitchen. So it is really, she's been tremendous in our Turn Back the Block family, very passionate and certainly known by all her neighbors. So when we talk about mission, Turn Back the Block believes that home ownership is the catalyst for transition in this community. We see that as positivity is contagious, and we see it home by home, we see it block by block, and I believe that LaDonna Dolman and her family are just an example of that. Where vacant lots, in her case, a burned home, abandoned homes once stood, new families are being welcomed into Harrisburg.
You know, we really appreciate the opportunity to kind of fill you back in on what we do. And one reason I think we're such a good partner with the land bank is we address a lot of the concerns of the consolidated plan for the city of Augusta. And that plan had 4 things that they wanted to address. And one of those was the address of blighted homes, removal of blighted homes. The next was increase in home ownership and available homes. And they'll pop up as we speak about it. The ability to remove blighted homes has been one of the major concerns for us. I know it's been one of the major concerns for the city of Augusta here recently with the new ordinance. What we do is exactly that. We take blighted homes, we remove them from the community, we turn those into development of new housing units. And then we're able to rehab old units. And so you see Broad Street down there at the bottom left, development of new units, that's up on Battle Row at the top right. And then we're able to create home ownership, which is the goal for everybody, I think, in the city of Augusta right now with a lack of housing. And Ashley's going to tell you a little bit about our new project here.
So our current project, we are doing in community partnership with the citizens of Georgia Power And as Sean mentioned, about a year ago, I was new to Turn Back the Block, and I've had this whole year to actually see this current project from my office window develop. It has gone from a empty lot to a framed structure, then insulation, all those moving parts, painted, and now on Mondays and Thursdays, our frogs are working to put hardwood floors into this home. So it's been a real treat. There's never a dull day, really, and you can't help but not work next door and not want to peek in there a couple of times a week. So that's our current project.
Yeah, I think we're going to be done with that project probably mid-summer. Hopefully we'll have a dedication here probably mid-summer. We'd love to have somebody from the land bank there. But speaking about the land bank, so in April of 2020, I guess, we closed on the deal to acquire some properties in 3 phases. As you know, the first 2 phases have been now completed. So we acquired 2030 Battle Row, 1830 Watkins, 1931 and 1933 Watkins. And here's just a photo of 23 Battle Row kind of before, how it currently is now. We've put a sign up, and 23 Battle Row is where we're going to put our next home. So we want to show, I know part of our agreement is to show activity. We want to show you that activity, and then also tell you that we're going to be building a home there probably in the next 6 months. We're going to do some groundbreaking. We'd love for the land bank to be there with us, to share in that groundbreaking and really promote the positivity that we're establishing in the community and creating home ownership. So this is kind of what 2030 may look like. This is LaDonna's home at 2014. Just to give you guys an idea of what the transition and transformation will look like with your help and assistance. So now we're moving into phase 3. Phase 3, we have these banked properties. 1706 St. Luke, and you can read them yourself. And we've tried to put the up-to-date liens and vacant lot fees on there. And so we're here today to ask for those lot fees and demo liens to be waived. And in doing so, we want to explain our position. The first is, over the last year, as everybody knows, housing costs have increased about 30%, if not more. So that increase in cost has taken a home from maybe $65,000 to $70,000 to $90,000 to $100,000 to build. So by waiving these liens and lot fees, you can help us achieve the next home, and that is to hear some home costs. A lot fee or a demo lien, the waiver of a demo lien could help cover the cost of plumbing, appliances, the electrical rough-in. So roughly a third of a house could be covered by your willingness to kind of partner with us, continue to go down this path, and give us a little bit of leeway and help us along the way here. So we're happy to answer any questions you may have. Once again, we really appreciate this partnership. We want to make sure that we're keeping to establish the goodwill with you and showing you what we're doing and how we're taking this partnership and trying to move it forward.
Garen, let me ask this question.
Yes, sir.
And thank you for the presentation, you and Ashley both for the presentation. The first thing I want to ask is, what is the requirement for someone to acquire one of the homes that you build?
You want to go through the application process?
Yes, absolutely, and jump in, skip something. But there is an application process. They go online at turnbacktheblock.com and they fill out just a small little questionnaire. I believe it's 10 questions. From that, I'm given, their contact information. I personally reach out to them and kind of find out what their goal is, where they are in the process of becoming a homeowner. We know that that's a big decision and it is a process. It's not something that happens quickly. After that talk, there's a larger application. It dives into giving permission to the CSRA EOA, our partners in doing this, permission to pull credit, to meet with the applicant or applicants and set up budgeting, personal budgeting. There's a homeowners class. We talk about sweat equity. There's 350 hours of sweat equity that we ask an applicant to do. And
I'll just say we partner through the CSRA EOA to make sure these applicants are screened. and they are appropriate for our program. Obviously, at the end of this, we offer them a 0% interest loan such that they're able to afford the home for probably less than they normally would pay for rent in the area. And that helps us to create that economic mobility for our applicants.
And I'll just add that process really looks different from each applicant. We have one of our homeowners who completed that process. He's single in 6 months, and he was, in a place for success at 6 months. LaDonna Dolman worked super hard, and it took her 3 years. She's a dynamic homeowner. So that process just looks a little different and varies.
And
this is John, just real quick, just for the record. The original agreement between the land bank and Turn Back the Block had in it that with the purchase of the property, that Turn Back the Block is going to pay the demolition lien on 2030 Battle Road of $3,162, plus a cleanup fee of $445.24. And then the other property I think we're discussing is 1931 Watkins Street. Is that correct, Garen?
Yeah, those have already been completed. That's right.
Right, but okay. So you're asking for group 3 now, correct?
That's right.
Correct.
Okay. Do we have those? I don't have those in front of me, the liens.
Yeah, I actually have them on the slide, and I can read them off to you. Do you want to just read them off?
Yes, I can read them off.
Send it to you, John, in the scan.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I
Go ahead.
think Lisa's going to send it to you.
Okay. I just want to put on the record what you're asking the land bank board to do.
Right.
So, and just to make sure, so the ask is that those fees that you and John were just discussing, that those fees would be waived. Is that correct?
Right. Just to be clear, phase 3, phase 2 has been completed. We've already paid those, the demolition fee on 2030, the vacant lot fee, everything had been negotiated for phase 1 and phase 2. But
Garen's correct on that.
Yeah, and now we're moving to phase 3. So at this point, we're negotiating phase 3 for those banked properties.
Okay, Rob. Rob Sherman. Yeah, Hawk, I see. I'm gonna come back to you in just a moment.
Yeah, what were you asking?
So they're asking that those fees would be waived on those respective properties. Your comments are?
Yeah, my comments are that, again, I believe what they're doing is great for the neighborhood, but because we have so many properties that we have yet to demolish, that we have orders on, I don't think that I'm real comfortable in just removing all the fees and the liens, maybe reducing it by an amount. But I think because of what we have to do on the city side as far as removing the blight, that is only going to be done by paying dollars to get it done, that we need to continue to collect something on these demolitions.
Yeah, I agree with Director Sherman on that. I think we've taken quite a few hits to our revenue streams, and even more so in attempting to be good stewards to our public, reduce quite a few fees across government. While this is an extraordinary initiative, I think the fees are low enough, and our ability to be able to carry out our portion is dependent on those fees. So, a slight reduction, if that's the advisement of Director Sherman, I would be friendly to that. But outside of that, I would not be a big proponent of that proposal.
Are we going into executive session on this, or is this all open discussion?
This was open discussion.
Okay.
We are going to executive session for 2 other items, but this one is open for discussion.
Okay.
Hawthorne,
Mr. Chairman, quickly before Mr. Welch, I was going to say, if it becomes a matter of needing to do negotiation, and that's to take place today, John can correct me, but it may be best to take the negotiation into executive session If it's just discussion, then we're just having a conversation. But if we're gonna get to numbers, we may want to go into executive session.
Understood.
My recommendation at this point would probably be let Director Edwards meet with Turn Back the Block, unless the board wants to take an action today to vote on it, and maybe come up with something that they wanted to present to the board other than maybe a straight removal of all the liens.
Mr. Chair, I would welcome that opportunity to allow Director Edwards to have further conversations. I'm sure there are a variety of ways to, I guess, skin the proverbial cat that wouldn't be figured out during this meeting. While, you know, from the city perspective, very, very supportive of the project and want to be supportive, but there might be other avenues that we can explore or some type of deviation from the initial request. So I think having Director Edwards have a conversation with them on that and then bringing something back that might be more palatable is a great way to move forward.
Understand. Director Welcher?
Yeah, my comments are similar, but not directly to. But Ashley and Garen, I don't think I've had the opportunity really to meet you from, housing and community development's perspective. But, I definitely, we have a strong partnership and sustaining partnership, of course, with the Land Bank Authority. But I would welcome a conversation, of course, with Director Edwards present, to have a conversation with you all to talk about, in my opinion, allowing you all to sort of increase the pace. If we could talk about increasing the pace as well as providing subsidy. I mean, I think in 2021, I definitely fully understand your model, and I think is one that works. But how can we, hurriedly sort of repopulate when we start talking about against, density and blight and those things? Of course, you all are familiar with the announcement that just came, from our commission in Harrisburg about us infusing 640,000+ speak to affordable housing, where there's also a conversation that we're having that is on the floor about the absence. We were before the commission 2 weeks ago about the absence of affordable housing, understanding the fact that there are several tenants who have Section 8 vouchers, which is a golden ticket, but guess where? There's nowhere for them to go. And of course, Section 8 home ownership is something that is applicable and something that is feasible as well. So for me, would like to engage in a conversation. Definitely doesn't take away from your model, but what it does, in my opinion, it helps you sort of diversify some of your resources. We understand the sweat equity, we understand, the volunteerism as well. But if you're able to sort of diversify and, get a 2-for-1 or a 3-for-1 based off what you're doing, now we're increasing pace, now we're increasing our product. And at the end of the day, it's our mission speaks to partnership. We're not just Laney Walker, but we're South Augusta, we're Old Town, we're Harrisburg, we're 307 square miles. So our mission befits what it is you are trying to get done. And I can't just sit here and allow you all not to have a resource, at your beck and call that could be a valuable resource and impact to that community. So I would definitely ask Director Edwards if he could sort of just loop me into a meeting. And then I think we could have further conversation. I'm pretty sure Administrator Donna would love that as well. Thanks.
So go ahead, Lauren.
As it pertains to the liens, I just want to, it's been a while since we've really talked about, developers coming in and extinguishing a lot of liens. So forgive me. I just want to make sure that we're being fair to the nonprofit versus the for-profit. So I just want to, differentiate, the nonprofit dollars versus the for-profit. So I just, I understand that, we have city dollars to consider, but, there is a difference of dollars here. So I just want to make sure that we are being fair to their dollars. So they are, obviously I know a little bit more than the average bear on this one. So I do think that they're, getting, a good deal on the properties, but every dollar counts. So I just think that goes, I just wanted to speak up and say that.
I appreciate that. Based on the comments from the board members, we're going to ask Director Edwards. We're going to table this item. We're going to ask Director Edwards to go back and have a conversation with Turn Back the Block, along with also including Director Welcher from HCD, and see if there's some other partnerships that can be gained there as well. But we will table item 2B at this time. Thank you, Ms. Brown and Mr. Muller, and your intern as well. I apologize. I forgot.
Lucy.
Lucy.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, and we look forward to what we can get done in the future.
Thank you so much.
You're quite welcome. Item 2C, approve request from owner to donate parcel located at 1640 15th Street. Mr. Edwards.
Y'all, let me do a screen share. I need to find where that screen is. Are y'all able to see this map?
Yes.
All right. So 1640 15th Street, let me zoom in a tad. 1640 15th Street is a property owned by the Wilkerson Family Trust. Staff have been communicating with this family for several months now as they've worked through the desire to donate this property after losing the home to city demolition. There may have been some thought from their end on surrendering the property even before that because of the several years tax delinquent, was a blighted structure. As I stated, the city's already taken care of the structure itself, but now you have that secondary issue that happens as we have addressed blight in the past. Property goes with no taxes collected, so no resources coming in. Nuisance ordinance requires that it be taken down because of complaints from the community of health and safety. We take on the expense of taking it down. We receive no reimbursement of that because now they've lost the structure and you still have a lot to maintain. So we've got $1,131.80 in past due taxes and almost $6,500 worth of demo liens on the property that the family is not in a position to be able to pay. It is worth it in our eyes as staff recommending to the board that we go ahead and take this property so that we can add it to our inventory to either put into the hands of an interested developer investor, work with the HCD department on if they have an interest in the 15th Street corridor, or make it part of efforts moving forward as the commission moves to its next step in the blight ordinance altogether. So recommendation from staff is that we do take the donation of 1640 15th Street. There has been communication with the family regarding the donation fee, and email correspondence has them currently accepting that cost of $1,535.
Any comments from the board members?
Chairman, I'll make a motion to accept it.
Do I have a second?
Second from Scott.
Motion has been made by Rob Sherman and seconded by Scott Roundtree to accept the donation of the property located at 1640 15th Street with the land bank taking on the cost. All in favor? Odie?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Did I miss anybody? It is a yes for me. That motion carries. Item 2D. Approve request from client for Augusta Land Bank assistance with foreclosure on parcel located at 1586 Lee Beard Way for rehab of single family home for rental property. Mr. Edwards.
Thank you, sir. So 1586 Lee Beard is right behind where the Housing Authority has constructed Walton Green, front facing onto 15th Street. It's right down the street from Beulah Grove Baptist Church and just around the corner from Beacon Station. So it's an area with a tremendous amount of activity. Last month's meeting, we approved accepting some properties along Lee Beard at the recommendation of Director Welcher. So as we show interest in areas to accept donations, take down foreclosures, or clear property, of course, other investors come. We received packet of information and application from this applicant. They've demonstrated that they do have the funds necessary, liquid funds necessary in order to be able to do this project based upon their estimated costs. We feel comfortable that they'll go in and do a good job with it. This won't be the first one they've done in our community, but this is the first one they'll be doing through the Land Bank Authority. So staff is recommending approval to move forward with the foreclosure of 1586 Lee Beard.
Do I have any comments or a motion?
One comment, Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes, please.
Director Edwards, did you indicate that they will be doing development for rental housing?
That is their goal. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I would, I mean, just as an observation, I think that as you indicated, there were 3 properties, 1522, 1560, and 1562, that you all basically took down for us. And of course, we're looking to work in partnership with the Georgia Rehab Institute to develop 3 affordable units for 3 affordable ADA compliant units that will tend to be rental and or lease purchase as well. So disregard. I was thinking that we were going to do total home ownership, and what I wanted to do was I think there definitely needs to be a good balance and a good diversification of the different type of housing that we're offering to be sure that anybody can come into the community. But I would just want to say for the record, I think I would welcome the fact of you and I sort of working. I want to be sure that what we put on the ground and what they put on the ground,
like
yeah, sort of like, just sort of complements each other. I think that's important because that is a prime and a hot quarter, as you very well pointed out. So thank you for the time, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, if I may.
Yes, sir.
I need to get with you anyway, Mr. Welchiger, because as folks start to come into these areas, we're still trying to follow suit. So okay. New construction is easy because you got a pattern book, we can go to your staff, but on rehabilitation, it's a little more difficult. So I need to be introducing folks to you as they come to us with inquiries. Okay. We were very much so watching the fact that we had already brought something for y'all last month. This client is aware of what y'all are doing. That's why he's interested in going, because he thinks he's gonna move a little bit faster and y'all gonna follow Reed. But you need to be introduced to folks as they come to the table. So yeah, I need to get to your office. Okay. I'm right with you.
Okay, that works.
Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Hey, just a bit of information. So code enforcement has been working on this property for quite a while. Have not been able to get them into public officer court because of the cloudy title. It's a lot of issues with the title. But just to say, if we could get someone who wants to be responsible for it by using the land bank, I think it's a good idea. So I'll make a motion that we work with them to foreclose on it.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion has been made by Rob Sherman and seconded by Scott Roundtree to approve the foreclosure of 1586 Lee Beard Way for Mr. Rollerson. All in favor? Scott?
Yes.
Odie?
Yes, sir.
Lauren?
Yes.
Rob?
Yes.
And it is a Karen?
Yes.
And it is a yes for me. That motion carries. Item 3A, Mr. Edwards discussed the partnership with Augusta's African American Historic Preservation Committee for a Community Foundation grant.
Thank you, sir. So we have a locally established branch of the Georgia Historic African American Preservation Network here that is titled the Augusta African American Historic Preservation Committee, which sits 2 of our commissioners, Commissioner Jordan Johnson, as well as Commissioner Francine Scott, as they work with primarily residential homeowners in the Laney Walker neighborhood to identify properties of historic significance throughout that corridor. They have begun the process of mapping those residential and commercial retail properties and are extending that mapping to include the neighborhood of Bethlehem and Sand Hills. Some of that work started in the designation of the golden blocks and that celebration that has taken place maybe about 3 or so years ago and has been assisted by Augusta University, University of South Carolina, and several historians, Lucy Craft Landing Museum, Morris Museum, to assist with putting that list together. The hope and ambition is, or was, to get that new entity, Augusta's branch, 501c3 certified so that it could be a nonprofit to pursue funds to start to do that cataloging and maybe at some point in the future start to save those historic properties. That's been accomplished. And so now there is a desire to go after grants. This group was made aware of Community Foundation's nonprofit grant, which that cycle begins in about 2 weeks with a mandatory work session and will carry through the fall if you're successful in the initial application to interviews. We've been approached as the Land Bank Authority, specifically staff, to potentially help with that in not only being able to do the cataloging, but also the application. It becomes a little bit stronger when you start to look at it from a pointing out that if the nonprofit can catalog and can acquire funds from in the future to start to do some of the mothballing, maintenance, insurance of these properties, that they will have an entity that can hold them. So what's being asked and what I'm requesting of the board is permission to participate as a co-applicant in the Community Foundation application for the chance to receive $15,000 up to $15,000 to work with the Augusta African American Historic Preservation Committee to go and do the cataloging of those historic properties in Sand Hills and Laney Walker. You would not be committing to anything after application at this point, but we do have to have your permission and of course, appropriate signatures to be a co-applicant in that grant process.
And just a question, the expectation in if the group is to get the grant and they are to start the work, the expectation of the land bank at that point would be essentially a depository agreement. They identify the properties and we would hold them until they do whatever it is that they're going to do with them. Is that correct?
No, sir. So at this point, if they're successful in getting the grant, it is all for research. It is to catalog those properties and to do the background necessary for them to potentially qualify as historic structures. So they've got to verify what the action was that took place there, or who the significant person was that lived there and their contribution to the city. So the grant is all history work. Once that catalog is done, of course, that is reported to the funder, Community Foundation, to say, we did the right thing with the money you gave us. But then they are in a position to now start to try to save those properties that are significant because they've done the designation. And we would be potentially approached at that point as a potential holder of properties as they pursue that. So today it's partner with me so that if I'm successful, I can come back to you as a partner asking for phase 2, as opposed to coming to you on phase 1. No action at this point other than, yes, I'll apply with you to get the money to catalog.
Any questions or comments? I'd like to make a motion to approve the participation of the Land Bank along with the Augusta African American Historic Preservation Committee in an effort to obtain the Community Foundation grant.
I'll second.
Motion has been made by Chris Johnson and seconded by Rob Sherman. All in favor? Lauren?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Odie?
Yes. Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
That motion approved. Rob, I'm sorry.
Yes.
That motion is approved. John, the foreclosure donation update?
Yes, nothing new on donations. Everything, we pretty much completed everything on donations except for maybe one that's pending. So foreclosure list, we have filed this week 2 new foreclosures on Old Savannah Road. Next week we'll be filing 7 more foreclosures, which are I guess number 62 through 68 on our foreclosure list. Last month we sold several properties. We sold property on Kent Street, Myrtle Lane, Miller, and Hopkins. And so we've got a lot of activity and new ones coming down the path. So foreclosures are strong.
Any questions or comments for John? And again, John is not ignoring us. He's at a hearing. And so
Still on Judge Jolly's yelling for me right now.
Okay. Thank you, John.
All right, thanks, guys.
This item 3C, Mr. Edwards discussed the land bank returning to in-person meetings at our next meeting, which will be July 21st.
Thank you, sir. So as we are all should be aware, commission has returned back to session. We're at a point now that if not all ordinances or requirements on the state have been lifted, and we are seeing pretty much a change when it comes to not only private industry and business sector, but also operations of government, that in-person is happening again. Great example of that for this body, our Blight Task Force, which is a subcommittee of the Land Bank Authority, which includes several of the departments that are present today, are meeting again in person. And so if we are prepared, we have already moved forward to reserve the conference room again here at Enterprise Mill to return to in-person starting next month. We can take any necessary steps for individuals within the room. You're all familiar with the size of the space, so we can make sure masks are available and distance as necessary. We even have the ability, if you would like, that as persons attend and are on agenda, we can create a waiting room in the hall if you prefer. But we are at a point now that we think that we're ready to come back to in-person. So we'll entertain any questions, sir.
One comment that I would have is I think initially we should consider limiting visitors. I think we should continue to do the have it online, have the meeting online so that those who would like to attend can still see the meeting, but I think that we should limit the attendance to the board members and those associated with the board, as well as those who would be presenting at that time. Do I have other comments about that?
So I just want to make sure I'm tracking with you, sir. So general audience continue to do YouTube. Folks on the agenda would be in person.
That's what my comment is, yes.
Gotcha.
Okay, if there's no other comments about that.
You know, we'll just have one question on that. I know that the commission is returning fully, and each individual board and commission that does not use the chambers effective immediately is authorized, meaning it's your choice, but there's no restriction to return to full in-person meetings. What I am not sure of, and I don't know if Mr. Edwards or anybody from the team has been able to look at this, but if the emergency declaration is lifted for those boards and commissions, are you able to restrict beyond the CDC recommendations? What we have done is just aligned with the CDC recommendations, and as they change, we try to adjust so that we're not going beyond those because certain local emergency declarations are lifted. And so I would probably encourage us to, if we're going to restrict folks, we restrict them based on the CDC recommendations, which say you can't be any further than 3 feet. That would be my only recommendation, to make sure we don't get outside of that. And that would be it for me.
Thank you, Administrator. Sean, I think that based on Odie's comments, let's go back and take a look, make sure that we're being consistent with both what the commission is doing and with the state and CDC guidelines. And then once we have that, we can actually send that information out to the board members and those associated with the board and for a future decision.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sean, are there any other new items other than what we have in executive session?
No, sir.
Okay, then I would like to make a motion to go into executive session at 2:47 p.m. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and properly seconded to go into executive session at 2:47 p.m. All in favor, Lauren,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Odie,
Yes.
Karen,
Yes.
and it is a yes for me. So Jeff, if you will take us into executive.
Yeah.
Okay, we seem to have everyone. Make a motion to return to a regular session. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion has been made by Chris Johnson and seconded by Lauren Dallas to return to regular session. All in favor, Rob,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
Karen.
Yes.
There's a yes for me, that motion carries. Like to make a motion to accept the resolution from Broadway Baptist Church for their depository agreement made with the Augusta, Georgia Land Bank Authority. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and properly seconded by Scott made by Chris Johnson and seconded by Scott Roundtree to accept the resolution from Broadway Baptist Church for their depository agreement of their property. All in favor, Rob?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
That is a yes for me, that motion carries. Do I have a motion to accept the list of city-owned properties, to request the list of city-owned properties from the Augusta Commission that was presented?
So moved, Karen.
Do I have a second?
Second, Scott.
Motion has been made and properly seconded to accept the list of city-owned properties to be taken to commission for on July 13th to request those to come into the land bank. All in favor, Rob?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Lauren?
Yes.
Karen?
Yes.
And that is a yes for me, that motion carries. Okay, do we have any other business? Well, we have accomplished quite a bit. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your patience as well as your participation, and go enjoy these nice warm summer days. Meeting is